With the imminent release of version 2.6, I thought I would take a moment to talk a bit about Star Citizen in general and say goodbye to version 2.5. It's definitely been a game that I have really been enjoying. I'm sure most of you, if not everyone, has at least heard of Star Citizen, depending on your level of familiarity with the project, but it's a very ambitious game project combining a lot of different elements from space flight, ground exploration, mining, cargo hauling, exploration, FPS shooting, tons of elements coming together for a very impressive game. When I first heard about the Kickstarter, I was very excited but a bit wary. I had been a fan of the Wing Commander games since I was a kid, and Wing Commander 4 is still one of my favorite games. When I found out this project was coming from Chris Roberts, I was very excited for it. I didn't contribute to the Kickstarter as I wanted to see how it developed and what the interest would be from the community. Similar to some of the adventure games, the space genre had kind of fallen by the wayside and wasn't really popular, so I wanted to hold off a little bit before I jumped into it. The Kickstarter was a good success, and soon the website was online, allowing for contributions to continue flowing in. That's when I joined up. I purchased an Origin JumpWorks 315 Exploration Pack. A few months in, the hangar module was put in place. You could log in and take a look at your ship, which was awesome. You couldn't really do anything, but it was fun to log in such an early portion of the game and take a look at it. A little while later, you could log in and actually interact with parts of the ship, which was even more fun. Lackluster, but it was fun to be able to log in and take a look at this level of development so early on in the project. Things were still going well, it was a lot of fun, and during the anniversary sale, I added a few more ships to my hangar, which now you could actually see all of them at once in the hangar. You could interact with them, they had more animations in place, and you could do a whole lot more with the ship, which was a good bit of fun. The crowdfunding was picking up pace, it was going pretty crazy. There were a lot of stretch goals that seemed to be coming every week. We would hit a stretch goal and it would move on to the next one, it was pretty crazy. The next module to hit was the Arena Commander and a Swarm Defense. You were defending a mining platform, orbital mining platform, against some pirate AI. The AI wasn't really all that good, but it was a lot of fun. You could get into a preset ship. It was the 325A, and you could fly around killing the pirates. It was good fun, but after a month or two it kind of became very same old, same old. The arena wasn't very big. About this time, the stretch goals really seemed to be getting out of hand. Every time I would log in, I'd find some other unnecessary aspect in the game, which really wasn't important. So I'd find a fish tank, I'd find a new flight suit, stuff that really didn't matter to the game at this point. It just seemed like they were dedicating resources to the stretch goals instead of the actual core game. It also seemed that Cloud Emporium Games had fragmented a little bit. I knew that they were splitting up offices and bringing on a lot of staff, but it really seemed that the focus was being split apart, and different parts of the game weren't going to work quite the same. Star Marine was being outsourced and some other things that just didn't seem right. I decided to tune out for a while and just kind of let things progress, see how it happened, and come back to it a bit fresh after a while. So for most of 2015, I just ignored the game. I didn't really pay attention to the threads and forums. Logged in every now and then, but beyond that, I just tuned out. When 2.0 released, it looked like things were really getting back on track. I was excited. The initial videos looked awesome. Unfortunately, it was a very raw release and not really ready for pre-alpha. It hadn't really gone through the QA process. They didn't have the Rivocati team or any of their early PTU testing out. So I would get maybe 1 to 2 FPS, so I just skipped it. 2.1 was the same problem. 2.2, I couldn't even get it to download, which was a bit annoying, but not really a major problem. I could see the online videos from those who were able to play it, and it looked great, so I wasn't really concerned that the optimization was in place. So when 2.3 came out, that was the first release that had really gone through proper testing and was really supposed to be more ready for prime time in a pre-alpha game. I couldn't download it, so I ended up having to wipe the entire game and start over from scratch. The server limit on FPS at the moment, just due to the way the netcode is and how things are handled, is about 30 FPS, but once I walked out of Port Olisar, jumped in my ship and took off and flew away, it was just amazing. It was a ton of fun to just be able to cruise around space, land. So when 2.4 came out, they added turrets, some other awesome things, but it was still a bit buggy. 2.3 had some issues where you could be teleported out of your ship, you could have gun problems. There was some issues, but it was fun. 2.4 fixed a lot of the problems with that, added some new ones. I couldn't get my FPS guns to actually deploy some of the time. Other times I'd get them out and 5 minutes later they would lock in place where I couldn't do anything with them. I couldn't shoot them. I couldn't put them away. I couldn't change them. So I had to really avoid the FPS arena in Korea and some other areas. 2.5 came out, fixed all those issues. Still has a few minor bugs. I've been teleported away from my Aurora a couple of times and had some damage registration issues, but on the whole it's been very stable, and it's not a whole lot of content in there yet, but what's there is good fun, being able to dogfight with other players and get in and actually utilize the environments. My main concern and bug, I didn't really download any of the rentable weapons through the REC credits that you can earn. I just figured I'd hold off on that for a little while later. My main goal in the game isn't to be a dogfighter. It's fun, it's cool, but it's not really what I'm into the game for. The end video here is going to highlight where I've been in some battles with some folks. I've knocked out their shields, but I don't seem to be doing any damage to their ship hull. When you look at the radar and you have the enemy targeted, usually you can see the damage showing up on their hull. And I was nailing some of these guys pretty well and just not doing any damage to them whatsoever, whereas I was getting torn up. Not the end of the world. I know a lot of that's happening when I'm fighting Sabres, and they're more dedicated dogfighters versus my Super Hornet, but I would have expected to at least do some damage to their hull. But regardless, still a ton of fun. 2.6 should add in Star Marine, which was brought back in-house, and is the dedicated FPS arena shooter. Looks like a ton of fun. 2.6 is just more of a stopgap for 3.0, and 3.0 is where I think it'll really start beginning and get out of pre-alpha and more into pre-alpha. Hopefully they'll be doing a lot of netcode fixes and bring some optimizations to the table. I'm not really expecting version 3 until April, and that's just because of the amount of content they have to put into that and get working on it. And I think what really got all of these versions from about 2.3 up to 3 really progressing really well and getting a lot of the focus and the entire organization at SIG back on track, I think, was the injection of some of the Crytek employees. The developers of the CryEngine coming in and helping them rewrite the Star Engine, I guess I think is what they're going to call it now, really brought things back on track, and it's really progressed the game. So, very fun game. Look forward to it if you're familiar with it. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. And I thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.